Hi, this is Deacon John Wilson, Education Enrichment Director of West Angeles Church, speaking to class of 2023 parents about what services we offer, but more specifically, how we offer services for the essay development of your youth. I'm going to call this one about early essay development because sometimes students have time to start their essays even right now or very shortly after now, and we're at the end of March. But really what I say today, you'll see will apply to through the summer. So I still consider that early part two in the summer. Every student should not start essays early. It's very clear. And I'm gonna cover that in this video as well. I wanna make sure you know whether your student should even be doing essays. We're gonna talk about that because schools start telling students that everybody has to do essays, and that's not true. It depends on a lot of factors, and starting early really depends on a lot of factors as well. I'll also cover traditional ways that parents have done it, and I'll rate those and tell you how they stack up against our method. And we're going to tell you how we do essay support for students here. We used to do essay workshops, but something happened. We found out they don't work. Now, I'll actually tell you why toward the end of the presentation. You'll probably be able to guess once you see the other slides before that. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I think we're ready right now. All right. All right, so I'm calling this college application essay support, the West A EEP approach. And you can get a hold of me at those numbers. I'll mention my numbers again at the end. I think after this presentation, you'll see my email address and phone numbers. And also, if you like this video, please remember to click like and subscribe to the channel so you can get these instructional videos throughout the college process. All right, let's go ahead and get started with this. All right. First of all, before the essay, I call this, before you even start the essays and before you even start your student down the road of doing essays, you need to consider the following. Here are the students who should do early essay prep. And early for me means spring of 11th grade or summer for rising 12th grade students, however you look at that, spring and summer. And this is class of 23 parents I'm talking to, so you know what I mean. I mean now and in this summer, I consider that early. In the fall will be kind of more right on time development of essays. And a lot of parents feel they'll be too busy. They should use their downtime in the summer. And some even think they should start in the spring. And I can understand both of those, but I'll help you to understand. Students with a GPA of 2.6 or above after 2.5 years of high school, which means you're in the middle after the first semester of 11th grade, or GPA of 2.8 after 3 years of high school. So that's after this semester grades are in. They probably are candidates to do early essay prep or even have essays, period, okay? There's a 50% or if there's a 50% or greater chance that the student will apply to a college that actually requires an essay, then they should do or consider, excuse me, early essay prep. The student, if the student has one or less AP classes, I think if they have a whole lot of AP classes, no sense starting early. If you plan on taking a whole lot next year, you're doing pre-work in the summer too. That's another whole problem. But at least you should wait till summer. You can't do it in the spring if you have too many essay classes, or I'm so sorry, too many AP classes. When students have AP classes and we start them essays, they don't do them. They're too busy. So we'll talk about our model, and you might decide with our model it doesn't make a difference. Our support model for essay development. And if it's spring of the 11th grade year, I think one or less, and no more than one extracurricular activity. Sometimes students have 2 and 3. Sometimes they have 2 at school. They're doing something in the community, and they're trying to do our essays, and they have an AP class. We have our students way busy, and maybe too busy. I'm going to have a separate video about that because you need to look at that going into the senior year, whether your students are just too busy to do a quality application. I see that so many times. No spring athletics. So if the student has a spring a sport that they're playing, let's hold off on the essay. Let's not even do it in the spring. And then sometimes sports are year round. And I really think that year round athletes just can't do essays. It's just very hard, or won't do too many or something. Maybe they do them in the fall. I don't know, but you're playing year round. So if the coaches take a lot out of students physically and emotionally, and especially if they're, starting and playing a lot, I mean, I'll work with the student if you want me to. We'll give them the same deadlines, but the quality of work is not nearly as good in those cases. So it's a good time to think about in these last two bullets how busy your student is and whether they really can really do essays. Most schools do not require an essay. We'll talk about that next. A's and B's in English and history class. That's a tip off that they should do that. If they have C's, then maybe wait till summer or do it in the fall. Because why should you rush and do it in the summer and spring when they could be making up classes in the summer? They could be taking enrichment classes from me or taking classes for college credit. They could be busy in the summer, or you just want to give them the summer off. And it's unheard of if they don't have, if they need a lot of iterations when they're writing. It's usually, you can look at the grades and see that we'll go back and forth a lot on reviews of the essay. And I think if there's A's and B's mostly, or just about all in the English and history classes, they would be a great candidate, I would say, for early essay preparation. Here are the colleges that do not require an essay on their application. Let me go ahead and, okay. They do not require an essay. California State Universities do not require an essay. Most out-of-state public universities in the West, many in the East too, do not require an essay as a part of the application. Most of them don't. Some private universities do not require essay, but most private universities do, but some don't, and there's pretty notable ones too. Colleges that require an essay on the application, here are the ones that require it. University of California, they have 4 essays. They're called personal insight questions. You pick 4 out of 8 to write on. You could have a 5th essay. We'll tell you about that if you decide to go into our preparation. Support for that. They're non-undergraduate campuses. Some out-of-state public universities in the West, most in the East, also require essay. And most private universities, as I said a moment ago, require an essay on the application. Let's talk about the different schools that your students may apply to. Out-of-state public universities, California state universities, early action private colleges. Notice I have a $sign there. You really shouldn't apply to every school early, only those that will give you more money. I think too many early applications really stress the students out. Notice I don't have early decision, or even, there's another name for it. I don't like any kind of early decision because it locks students in one way or another in on certain colleges too early. Protestant Christian colleges, universities of California, and regular period private colleges. And the ones that require, let's go over the dates they'll be delivered to give you. I like to you to have a perspective on the essays versus when the applications are delivered. Around September 15th is when most out-of-state public universities begin to accept applications. California State, we like to see those delivered October 1st to the 31st, although the deadline for most CSUs is November 30th. There are a few that stay open afterwards and will be open afterwards. November 1st to 15th on early action private colleges and Protestant Christian colleges. November 1st to 30th on UC. The UC application drops in October, but you can't deliver it to November 1st through 30th. So students can work on the parts of the application and on the essay well before it's actually going to be delivered. Regular period private colleges, they're right there on December 1st through 31st. They'll be worked on and delivered. And let's see when the essays, who takes essays. So these last three types here, the early action private colleges, the universities of California, the regular period private colleges are the ones that are going to have essays. You need application, essay development. You need your student will need support for those. Even though these are delivered way later, it's good to get them done early if you can. How early, I'll let you decide that. EEP personal essay support, I call it, for spring and summer. That's what we're offering, and we'll show you the way we do it in just a moment on view graphs here. Then, of course, the applications are delivered. We also provide a great deal of application support. We'll support any type of application delivery help for your student. Today, we're just talking about the essay, but maybe you want general support or personal support. We'll show you where we determine the type of support we'll give your student. There's a place where we all can be together and do that. Okay. Here's our personal support process for essays. We have a very personalized process we use. We don't do, like I told you before, essay workshops and then send the students off to work by themselves. We find that does not work. It's not really pleasing and acceptable to us. So you'll see how we handle this whole matter. Okay. First of all, the 11th grade students, spring and summer, we talked about. You're going to go to a college readiness conference with me, and I'll show you how to schedule it. At the very end, I'll give you the exact steps, but we need to have a college readiness conference. And who's in the conference? Your youth, the parent, and us. I'll be in there with a coordinator of mine. Sometimes I have a senior level person instead of me, but almost always I like to do them all as much as I can myself. List of colleges. What will happen as a result of the meeting? You get a list of colleges out of the meeting. We'll agree to that. It's a preliminary list. It can change, but it gives us an idea of what kind of essays or if you will need essays. A pre-career planning session. We'll be able to talk a little about career. And then the SAT prep plan can be done. Even if you've already taken the SAT, we can talk about when the student's going to take it again and plan that. Talk about that list of colleges. That's the most important output for this essay session we're having right now, because the common application essays will be known to us. We'll know what schools take the common app. We'll know the schools taking UC, if you need any UC application essays, because we'll see that you have UCs on your list, right? And then there'll be other application essays that you'll encounter from schools that don't use the common app, but are private schools. They have their own essay they do. Quite a few schools still do that. I think it's about 20% of all privates. So every school is not on the common app, that's for sure. It may be 30% that have their own essay actually, but every school is not on the common app. Please remember that. Then of course, on the common app essays, many schools will have their own tailored essay or a supplemental essay that they'll also require. So the bigger your list is, the more essays you have to write. I'd say it this way, the bigger your college list is, the better writer you need to be. You really need to be a really good writer from scratch. And that's not always easy for students to do. I've had great students that couldn't do essays that have gone away to great colleges still that don't require a lot of essays, just maybe the common app essay. They do very well, okay? Okay, let's talk about how we help an essay development process. We first review the essay options with the student. We carefully go over, like if it's choose 1 out of 6, we go over all 6. If it's 4 out of 8, we go over all 8. We make an essay selection from there. We help them with the selection. We don't just go over the list and then have them go away and select it. They don't get done. You really have to work closely with students to get it done. The first essay draft due date is decided right there. We make them commit to a due date and we email them and copy the parent on the due date of the essay. This first draft. We get that first draft, we review it. The student updates per our review. We repeat the essay review. And then we'll repeat the last two steps, the review and the update, until we're complete. We'll cycle back and forth. Usually our agreements, we say there's 3 cycles allowed. When we get to the 4th, we'll need to probably reassess where we are. We may need to charge a little more if we've been paying a student, paying support staff to help the student. Store your final essay. We both do that. We'll store it away, put it in the freezer essay. We go to the next essay, if there is a next essay. You might ask, well, how long does that take typically? Well, typically 3 to 14 days. We make our due dates 2 or 3 days after the first draft. So theoretically, they can write us a good essay. We make comments, they correct them, and we're done. So we say 3 to 14 days because if it cycles back and forth and the student's busy, the length of time or days depends on the writing skill of the student and their schedules. It really does depend on that. If they get really busy in school, and that's why I said if they have a lot of AP classes, it could be a problem. Sometimes parents think, and I agree to an extent, it's good for them to get used to having conflicting priorities and having to set priorities to get things done. I have students that, despite having AP classes, got all the essays to us on time. Let's talk about other application essay completion options as a parent that you have. Here are the things I've seen done to get essay help in the past. I call these essay helper processes. The most common is people think, well, they'll just work through their guidance counselor at school. And I still get calls and they work through the guidance counselor. I get calls in December and November. Hey, they're not getting any essays done. And here's why. Sometimes this works though, depending on the experience that the counselor has with college essays. Sometimes the counselors are younger and are not familiar with the admissions process and really don't know a lot about college essays, just that they did one for college years ago. If your youth can, they don't also, if your youth, can your youth work without a schedule? Because they don't often give them deadlines or a schedule, not at all. Some will not consistently review the drafts. There's very little follow-up when you're using a guidance counselor. They help you very generally. Some people think an English teacher could help, right? That's writing after all. Well, the essay review by that English teacher, I found, is based on grammar. When grammar is not the major consideration when colleges are reviewing, when admissions offices are reviewing. So most English teachers are not able to consistently review the drafts, and they're busy up and down. They won't see redrafts either. You remember, only one time you're going to do it. You're going to hand in as an assignment. They're going to give you a grade, and that's it. It doesn't mean it's acceptable to go to a school. There's no follow-up, no connection to an overall college process. I mean, there's exceptions to every rule. I'm sure there's some English teacher that has studied the admissions process and knows about admissions practices, but usually it's not true. It's like going to a heart doctor for a foot problem, or you're going to, one type of specialist, go to an eye doctor for a problem with your joints. It's you got to have the right specialist. And we think that, we have a lot of experience, almost 20 years, over 20 years actually, of application experience. Sometimes you'll find a counselor or a teacher that was an admissions counselor, college admissions counselor. They can be pretty good, but will they keep with them and follow up? And you got to ask yourself that. Then some say they'll use a family friend or relative, especially if they're a college employee or a college professor. They'll want to use that person to help them. The person will be very willing to help and will want to help. That's not the issue. But you'll see combinations of the above issues. And many times I find that family friends and relatives tend to try to tell you what they should write about. And that's a real no-no. In our program, we don't tell students what to write about. We help them pick an essay. We let them write the draft, and we'll just shine it up and make it good. We don't tell them what to write about. That's very important. I mean, it's extremely rare that I reject a topic from a student. There are some instances where you have to think about it, but it doesn't come up that often at all. You want the essays to be in the student's voice. It's very important that it be in their voice. Okay, it's quite important. Some of you think, well, I'm the parent, I'll just help them, or one of the parents will help with the essay. Students are very courteous, they'll let you, but it's the least effective of all processes. often I see these students not get into colleges. Because sometimes students, again, feel like they're doing a topic that their parent wants, not one they can write about. And then also they're not sure it's their essay, they get nervous. They've told me about that. And yeah, I feel so bad for them when that happens. Parents, you really ought to call in somebody to work with your student. Like it's just like me, see, I'm trying to think. I think I was able to show one of my kids how to drive, and the other two I couldn't. It just somebody else had to do it. But on the other hand, I could easily teach my oldest daughter about math when nobody else could. That was rare. But usually us parents, it's kind of hard for us to double over and do essay review, because essay review, you're reviewing the thoughts from the heart and soul of the student down on paper and helping them to clarify it. And that's a very tricky thing with a son, the son or daughter, if you're a parent. Then some people think essay workshops, like UCs have essay workshops, but most people believe it's a good process, but there's no follow-up. There's no personal assistant. They just bang, 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 tell them how to do it and walk away. Some of them give out their card and don't get back to students. I mean, I don't think that that's the best way to do it either. I have so many that come to me who've been to the workshop and still have not really started, or not sure what the essay is all about. So let's rethink the idea of an essay workshop, parents. I got away from, I did one a few years ago. The last one was 4 years ago. I think there were 35 students there, and really only about 4 actually did the essay early. They all were pressing up against deadlines months later. I don't know what it is. So workshops are not the way. You need something that's consistently following up on the student. Let's talk about the steps in getting a college readiness conference with me, because that is actually the first step in the whole process, is the college readiness conference. I mean, that's very, very important to this whole thing, or it doesn't really work out. Let me just spin back and show you that one more time. There's a one right here. I want to go over this with you actually. If you remember this, I talked about this. Right here, there's a college readiness conference. It's at the center of everything. Look, according to this, nothing can happen without it. So it is a matter of us getting started here, the college readiness conference. Please, parents, that's where you start. So I'm about to give you the steps to start this whole process here of us doing our review. Okay. Okay, let me swing on for these. Step 1 is get a PDF of the unofficial transcript and the most current progress report. That's step 1. Notice it needs to be a PDF. Please don't give me pictures of it. I can't always make it larger, can't see it. PDF is the best thing for me and my people to be able to store away and help you later with the application, and for me to study and make sure that all the grades meet the college requirements and see the spread and the types of grades in different subjects. So please, PDFs of the unofficial transcript. Step 2 is you get your PSAT, SAT, ACT scores, if applicable. You may not have taken any of those. Student may not have taken them, but you can print them out at collegeboard.com or just go to the high school if you need the PSAT scores. That's usually what I'm looking at. The PSAT was done in 10th grade. If you don't have those because of the pandemic and all that, no problem. We'll meet without it. We'll talk about SAT planning and see if it's needed. Step 3, you're going to email these to me or Bailey Salisbury, my assistant. This email address here is not right. It's West A period EEP. It's not www. It's West A period EEP at gmail.com. Don't worry about that if you can't get that right. Just email Bailey Salisbury and send her the transcripts. But along with that, we want you to tell her 2 dates and times for a meeting, and we will schedule it via Zoom. Remember, give you 2 dates and times with the transcript. If you prefer in person, please indicate that, and I'll accommodate you by either meeting you near your home or in the community or in our offices, okay? But if on the other hand, you want to do it on Zoom, it's quicker, easier for you, we'll do it on Zoom, okay? All right, parents, I hope that helps you to know how we do this whole business of essay support. I think that's very important for you to know that. And please feel free to get a hold of me if you have any questions at all. And once again, if you like this video, click like and also click subscribe. And you can make any comments down below if you want, or you can reach out to me and email me. My email address will appear right after this, and this video is over. And you can get a hold of me then, or you go back to the first slide of the video. God bless you. Thank you very much. Looking forward to working with you and your student this college season, and especially if you're doing early